So I'm with Michael Blackford, who is the Deputy Development Director in Gahanna. And Michael, there is a draft proposal for Creekside. Tell me a little bit about that and where we're at in the process.
Yeah, certainly. So there is a proposal. It's on just under 2.5 acres. They like to construct 128 apartment units. That's in 2 separate buildings, and that's on the east and the west side of Mill Street, south of Carpenter, just north of Creekside.
And what's currently there?
Currently, we might be familiar with those properties. There's the car wash with the coffee shop there as well. There's an office building. Those are located on the east side of Mill Street. On the west side of Mill Street, the Visitor and Convention Bureau is located there, and there is the fitness facility as well. So it's multiple properties on 2 sides of Mill Street.
And who's proposing to develop this?
So the final development plan is the application that we have received, that we have formally received, and that is submitted by Metropolitan Holdings. There is also an incentive, and that is, there's an incentive that has been submitted, and that has been submitted on behalf of Gahanna Mill Street Investments. So I actually am not 100% certain, the difference in those ownership groups, if there are any at all.
Okay. So basically we're looking at proposed housing apartments, two different buildings.
2 different buildings. I believe the heights are 5 stories, about 70 feet, I think, to the top of the roof for both of those buildings. Again, we're in the preliminary stages. The application for final development plan has just been submitted. There is a separate process that's also tracking through our city council right now, and that is the developers have requested a developer's agreement with the city. That would be an incentive package to help facilitate the construction of this site.
So that's something that'll be moving through council?
Correct. We had our first discussion here earlier this week. That was in the Finance Committee. I believe the intent is in 2 weeks from last Monday to come back to committee. Administration is going to have time to have a formal analysis of the incentive program request, and we're going to have our feedback on the appropriateness of those incentives. That'll be presented to council. That'll be up for them to consider. Then I believe probably council's going to have increased dialogue with the developers about the project.
Okay. When are we looking at an opportunity for the public to comment on it?
Right now, it's in the committee, so it's really an opportunity for council and the developer to have discussions. Ultimately, all of our incentives do have to go through a public hearing. That'll happen after the committee process, and that is to be determined. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Can you show us on the map?
Sure, absolutely. So this is the final development plan application, and what this application does is show the horizontal improvements, which is really the location. Here we have Mill Street, Carpenter Road. So in this location is the car wash as we know it today, and then there's the office building. This is North Street. A portion of North Street would need to be vacated in order to accomplish this building design. So the building goes along Fronts Mill Street, parking to the rear. And then on the east side, on the west side of Mill Street, there's another building, a smaller building. Again, we have buildings located in close proximity to the right-of-way of Mill Street, parking to the rear. And this is where we have the CVB and the fitness facility. This is what has been submitted so far. What has not been submitted as of yet would be the architectural rendering. So we don't actually have elevations that show the colors and the materials to be used or any plantings on site. Those will have to be submitted at some point in time. Those are all approved along with the the final development plan through the Planning Commission review process, public hearing.
We haven't even got to the planning commission point yet.
No,
right?
correct. We have not. Because of the incentive and some of the elements involved in that incentive agreement, which includes the use of Rock Park and the vacation of North Street, a portion of North Street, that incentive agreement really needs to, that developer's agreement needs to be approved by City Council before we can really go to public hearing with the Planning Commission applications.
Okay.
Again, because it shows property that is currently owned and used by the city.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely, no problem.